Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer in that order. Welcome everyone. Regular rollers time. We're going to roll right after I mentioned that this week's list is brought to you by Greg Morris Cards. More on them coming up in just a bit. We'll start off one sent in by Josh Road. I operated as a high roller this last weekend with the Texas Snowman, acquiring his T206 Cy Young PSA 6, but I'm very much a regular roller. I think some of the cards I enjoy the most are under $200. I purchased his 1948 Leaf George Taliaferro. Absolutely love this card. If you're not familiar with him, he was the first African-American ever drafted into the NFL. He played quarterback, H-backs, cornerback, return specialist, and punter. Yes, quarterback and punter. He threw an NFL touchdown in 1949. Absolute trailblazer. When you think of the yellow background and the 1948 Leaf set, you think of the ever-elusive Satchel Paige and, of course, the iconic Jackie Robinson rookie. But George Taliaferro should be recognized for his contribution to the game and society. He has a book and a documentary, but as far as cards go, they don't look much better than this. I love the Heisman pose, the red jersey, and the yellow background. It's just an awesome card. $250 all in. I hope that's a regular rollers, because to me, it was awesome. This was sent in by Chris, who wrote, just wanted to share an amazing pickup I got the other day. Also wanted your thoughts on sending it to PSA for dual grading, if it's worth it, or leave it as is. Yeah, nice card here. 1982 Topps Lawrence Taylor rookie, who some would say is, the greatest football player of all time, or at least the greatest defensive player of all time. He's definitely in that conversation. This is his one and only rookie, and it's been autographed, and really, really nice looking clean auto there, authenticated by Beckett, BGS authentic card and autograph. $56. I don't know a lot about autograph values and autograph rookie values, but that strikes me as a good price. Again, I don't know what market value is, but that strikes me as a good way to spend $56 or $60 all in, or whatever it is. But in terms of should you submit it to PSA for a crossover and get a dual auto, that's really a completely decision for you. What do you value about the card? What do you want out of the card? As is, it looks great. If you prefer PSA for some reason, or you're looking to sell it and you think you might get more from PSA, which is certainly possible, you can consider a crossover that way. But there's going to be cost and time involved there, so it's really what you want to get out of the card is the question. It's not something for me to answer for you. This was sent in by Dave, who wrote, I came across this lot of 22 Billy Ripken Rickface error cards on a local online auction site. I couldn't resist putting in a bid on the lot of what is quite possibly the most famous error card of all time. With the 10% buyer's premium, I'm all in for just over $150. There are 5 Rickface Ripkens in the lot, which consistently sell on eBay for over $40. My plan is to send them to SCG and keep the best one of each variation for my personal collection. Pretty good deal here at right around $7 a card. Don't sleep on the local online auction sites for sports cards. Yeah, you definitely got a good deal here. Well, assuming the cards are in good, nice condition. You get 5 of the major errors, like you said. Yeah, you're gonna sell. You can sell these 5 for more than what you paid for the entire lot. You got 4 of the scribble errors, which I don't know, $10 each or so. I think they go for. I'm not really sure, and a bunch of the black box errors as well, or corrected versions as well. So yeah, you did quite well here, and hopefully you get some added upside with the grading. This one was sent in by Grant, who wrote, you've done a ton of content on modern jersey cards and the issues associated with the material on those cards. Scrolling through eBay, I found this 2001 Leaf cross-training Drew Brees Tim Couch jersey card. The front of the card has one patch on it, and it says it's dual worn. The back of the card has a photo of Drew Brees wearing a Tim Couch jersey. The card explains it's a game-worn Tim Couch jersey in which Drew Brees wore during the 2001 NFL Rookie Premiere. The cross-training set consisted of 25 different cards, all of which had a rookie wearing a veteran's game-used jersey, and all were numbered to 100. I buy a lot of rookie jersey cards from this era, as these were big-time pulls back then, but now jersey cards do not get any hobby love like they once did. But this is still a rookie year Drew Brees card out of 100 and graded an 8. Yeah, that very interesting set. I was not familiar with it, and I've never heard of another set that did something like this. But yeah, you got a rookie player putting on a game-used jersey of a veteran, and so it's actually worn by 2 different players. Drew Brees is the more notable player obviously here, and it's a Drew Brees rookie, so that's nice. Tim Couch would have liked a bigger name there, but very interesting idea, cool idea, and obviously at $10 here, certainly I would call that a great buy for a Drew Brees rookie patch card graded by PSA. This was sent in by Neil, who wrote, growing up, Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio being a part of the Killer Bees for the Astros was everything to me as a kid. I found this on eBay, and it took me back to the glory days. There are not many autos of both Bagwell and Biggio on the same card that isn't ultra modern. I was pumped that this is an earlier card of both of them, clear autos, and PSA verified. Helps that they are both Hall of Famers as well. Money-wise, not sure it was necessarily a screaming deal or anything like that, but I'm just very, very happy to have this card for my PC. This was sent by Tom, who wrote, I just stared at this listing. If one bid won the card for $84.99, that means that $84.99 was the starting bid on what might well be a $5 to $10 card. And the seller found a sucker and pocketed a 10x profit on the listing. So as I contemplated, is this evil genius or just evil? I just had to see the seller's other lots, and sure enough, that's their MO all the way. Every card, it seems, is A, an auction, B, has a crazy high opening bid, and C is bait for unsuspecting buyer who might be fooled into thinking he grabbed a bargain under the auction wire. You talk ethics a lot on your channel. I would welcome your thoughts on not only this listing, but the ongoing practice that this seller, many other sellers as well, practice. So I would say a couple things. There are definitely sellers that use that strategy. They only run auctions and they price things really, really, really high. And their sort of hope is to sell, just a small percentage of their items, but get a really, really high dollar for them. And perhaps take advantage of buyers who aren't doing their homework or whatever. And you can argue if that's manipulative or not, but in my opinion, a seller is allowed to sell their, ask any price they want for their card. I mean, it's their card. They can ask whatever they want. They can sell it in any manner that they want on auctions, and they're within their right to do so here, as long as they're not misleading or tricking or lying or confusing the potential buyer in any way. And I don't see anything in this listing in particular. I don't know this seller at all, but I don't see anything in this listing that's misleading in any way. 1954 Bowman Kyle wrote number 7. That's all accurate. Pack fresh looking card. That appears to be a reasonable description. I don't know this seller and if they're, what their reputation is regarding grading cards and how accurate they are, but I don't see anything to suggest that that's not the case here. So I don't really, nothing jumps out at me at this listing as wrongdoing in any way. And second, this price here, it strikes me as high as well, but it's not necessarily unreasonable. Like, yeah, in mid-grade, this card is just a few dollars, but in ultra-high grade, there are set collectors who want ultra-high raw copies of cards for their sets, and they're willing to pay an extreme premium for it. That's not uncommon. I mean, you don't see pack fresh cards from the 50s anymore, so this is extremely rare. And, the right set builder would be willing to pay an extreme premium for this. To give you an idea, this card in a PSA 8 sells for about $90, and a PSA 9 sells for about $1,000. So you could even argue that somebody might buy this, send it to PSA, and looking to get a 9 and actually make a profit. Now, I don't think this would, that sort of strategy is not going to pan out usually, but, $85 for this card, if it truly is pack fresh and near mint or near mint plus, is not necessarily unreasonable. This was sent by Evan, who wrote, sharing an item I saw on eBay today that I thought was interesting. It appears that PSA gave this card an auto grade of 9.5, but I never knew that was possible. I find myself torn sometimes on whether or not to send a card to PSA since they do not offer a card grade of 9.5, and the 10 to 9 price variance isn't worth the risk. So it was interesting to me to see that they apparently offer a 9.5 for auto grades. Have you seen this before? Looks like a newish slab, so maybe it's a new offering. Yeah, so when you sent me this and I saw this, I was like, well, this is obviously a fake case. PSA doesn't offer a mint plus 9.5. So I just assumed it was a fake. But then I went to the PSA set registry or the PSA website, typed in the cert, and there it is, a mint 9.5, mint plus 9.5. And I was quite confused here. Now, I'm not 100% sure I figured it out. They definitely do not offer 9.5s on cards. But you can see here, they've labeled it as trading card, and then they've given the auto a 9.5 grade. So they're really just grading the auto, and this almost should be considered like not a card. It's like an item that has been autographed, like a ball or a photo or something. And apparently they do give 9.5 grades on autos, which I didn't even know that either. So I'm learning quite a bit here. If I have that description wrong, please somebody correct me in the comments. But I think that's what's going on here. But yeah, I was confused when I first saw this as well. This was sent in by Michael Hurt. I was checking one of my PSA orders yesterday and I had some grades available. I opened the app and pressed on one of my orders, and to my surprise, they were there. The list only showed 10 grades, though, that were in. I thought, okay, they're still working on the other cards from the order, but I was really happy when I saw that I got a 10 for the red Fernando Tatis rookie auto, making it a pop 1. Fast forward to this morning, so not even 24 hours later, I get the email saying my grades were ready, and to my disappointment, the Tatis was graded a 9. Of all the cards that had grades yesterday, the Tatis was the only one that had changed. I'm happy I took a screenshot of it because if I hadn't, nobody would believe me. It was a 10-year right. But I'm going to reach out to PSA, email and call, but I do not really see them owning up to it. And he did reach out to PSA, and PSA wrote this email to him. They wrote, "We want to sincerely apologize for any inconvenience or disappointment this may have caused you. We have implemented a new process that allows our valued customers to review the grading results before finalizing the quality checks. This change is designed to ensure transparency and provide an opportunity for any grade adjustments prior to the card's completion. While the card you submitted could have initially received a grade of 10, as you observed, as part of our rigorous quality assurance process, it underwent further review by our senior team. Regrettably, during this assessment, a correction was deemed necessary, resulting in the revised grade." Next up is a 1959 Topps Bob Clemente, better known as Roberto Clemente, and it's graded in SGC EX5, and I was the seller of this card. I sold this card on consignment through Greg Morris Cards, who I mentioned at the beginning is sponsoring this episode. Sold for $172.50 in auction. That's a very strong price for this Clemente card in an SGC 5. I'm a customer of Greg Morris, both as a buyer and seller, as they are one of the most respected sports card sellers on eBay. They specialize in vintage, but they have quite the selection of modern cards as well, and that side of their business has been growing. I recommend you check out their inventory, and if you have a collection you're looking to sell, you can contact them through the website. I've included all this information in the description below. Next one is sent by Richard, who wrote, "I don't collect soccer cards, but I did live in France for many years. Michel Platini was France's biggest soccer star of the 70s and 80s. Still today, he is considered one of their top 3 all-time, along with Zinedine Zidane and Thierry Henry, and he is a worldwide top 10 of the 20th century. In France, he remains a household name and a national icon. I was bidding on some vintage baseball cards when I came across this listing that was $1.50 with 3 minutes left, so I put in a bid and got it for $2. It was issued by Rothmans. I'm guessing that's the British cigarette company from 1984 and looks gradably near mint sharp. Though I know nothing about this set, I've got to assume this card was an absolute steal." Very cool. I'm not familiar with this set, but I agree with you. I'm sure at $2 you did extremely well here. This was sent in by Faron, who wrote, "I regularly check vintage lots on eBay looking for bargains on late 60s and early 70s cards. As you pointed out, inexperienced sellers can often have trouble getting full value on lots without enough eyeballs on their auctions. However, I've noticed that if there is in a binder the word vintage in the title, the bids can get pretty crazy. Case in point, this vintage baseball card lot from a recent auction that sold for $170 all in. It's a nice pink binder and the few cards worth a few bucks each, but I'm super confused. What am I missing?" Yeah, that's really interesting. Vintage baseball card lot, that's a pretty, poor title, not really much info there, but it more than got the job done. $155 for this plus shipping, and, I went through every picture, and there were a lot of pictures provided in the listing, and just like you said, I don't see the value at all. There's some vintage commons here that are maybe $1 or, maybe $2, and some 70s stars that are sort of dollar cards or $2 cards at the most, and some 80s, early 80s that are sort of quarter cards, 50-cent cards. Getting into the late 80s, cards really don't have any value here as they're from the junk wax era. Into the 90s, you got some more quarter card type stuff. But, you add all that up and, maybe there's, I don't know, $30, $40, $50 worth of value, something like that. So I'm not quite sure why this went so high. Maybe it's just the fact that it's in a binder and, people are excited about what might else be in there, and they sort of have the, like, ooh, there might be a hidden goodie that the pictures don't pick up. I'm not sure, but yeah, $155 I think is a real reach for the buyer, and I guess the seller did well here. And I'll finish on a vintage bargain. This was sent by Peter, who wrote, "This listing for a lot of 1964 Topps Giants turned out to be a complete set. All the stars and short prints for a winning bid of $91. The Koufax alone is worth more than that. The rather unusual listing title probably decreased the number of bidders. I also won 2 additional auctions from the same seller and was able to combine shipping. One was a 36-card lot of 1985 TCMA postcards, and the other was a 64-card lot of 1980 Hall of Fame exhibits. Nothing super valuable, but I got the postcard lot for $1.25 and the exhibits for $17.50. Each of those cards sells for a few dollars at least, and the Mantle and Ruth cards can be had for $10 or so. Combined with the Topps Giants lot, I paid $126.51 all in. Averaged out over the 3 lots, that's less than $1 per card. Great resale value, but also just kind of a fun purchase. Cool to get a complete set of the Giants, and the postcards and exhibits are unusual cards that I've never had before. My favorite exhibit card of the bunch is a team card from the 1948 Cleveland Indians that won the World Series. Branch Rickey and the Dodgers are, of course, famous for signing Jackie Robinson to break the color barrier, but it was Bill Veeck who signed Larry Doby and Satchel Paige and immediately won a championship, demonstrating that any team that continued to shun black players was doing so at their own peril. The 48 championship is a significant part of baseball history that often goes uncelebrated. But that's it for this week's regular rollers. Hope everyone enjoyed, and appreciate everyone, as always, for all your great submissions. Keep them coming, and whether you are a high or regular, keep on rolling. Thanks, everyone.